Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. It's a live edition. It's PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It is Wednesday of Florida-Georgia week.
Yeah.
Yankees survived last night for another game, which will be tonight.
Yeah.
And we'll have Edgar Thompson, second portion of today's show. We got JC now. JC, you're on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. What's up?
Well, yeah, there's no way the Yankees are losing on my birthday, October 29th, in a sweep fashion. But I was right about one thing. I think it's going to go 6 games, but the wrong team's going to win. New York won't be able to hit Yamamoto if they were to win tonight even. And I don't know if that's going to happen. But then if they do win tonight and go back to L.A., they're looking at Yamamoto, and they're not hitting him. They're just not going to hit him. So, anyway, it was fun.
I thought they were the Bronx Bombers. I thought they could hit anybody.
Right. Well, I did too. Then they came up with this guy, Yamamoto, who they gave hundreds of millions of dollars to. I mean, they have paid 2 Japanese players so much money, over $1 billion. It's got to be. It's got to be. I mean, Ohtani, what, $700 million? And then Yamamoto, $300 million. I mean, I think my numbers are right here. That equals $1 billion to 2 guys from Japan. God bless them. If they win a World Series first time since the 80s, that was actually during a full season. So, yeah, the Dodgers did what they Dodgers do. And that's, you talk about how the Yankees overpay players, please. They can't even talk about this with the Dodgers. But that's all right. QB, the most important thing that's going on around here is this game. I know you were in Georgia yesterday. I'm sure you were talking to all the Bulldog fans up there. They've got to be just brimming with confidence, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah. There's no concern there at all.
No, none. It used to be one of those games where people were actually nervous about, whether they would win or lose, but it hasn't seemed that way here in the last couple of years, unfortunately.
Yeah. JC, we got a couple texts here. Leroy on the Titan More text on Leroy from Palm Coast.
All right, Leroy.
He is the girls' golf coach over there, whatever school that could be. Yeah. He said he had a girl qualify for the regional, and Buchholz is hosting the regional golf tournament next week at your place, Hawkstone.
Oh, man. Well,
so he's got a question. I'm going to answer first.
They want to go to a premier venue for that? Why not?
I'm going to answer the question first, and I'm going to let you. He says, could you ask JC how the greens are rolling?
Oh, bullshit.
I swear to God, it says right here. I will tell you right now, Leroy, go have your girl practice on her carpet, her 70s carpet, shag carpet. They are very slow and grainy.
No, Leroy, here's the truth. I played last week. No, you haven't played in the last.
I have not, but I have people in my golf group that played there on Saturday and said they were freaking slow.
They are comparing it to the freaking Shinnecock Hills over here that you play at. All right, it is slow compared to a 13. All right, but Leroy, it's not nearly as bad as it was during the summer. And they have cut the greens. Yes, they're flat, but there are subtle slopes around the hole, Leroy. If you want some tips,
play everything in the hole. Nothing breaks. Everything's flat and slow.
Leroy, I'll help you, Leroy. Just text me, man. I'll get you girls lined up. I did that for one of those teams that came in for the Lady Bison, who and the guy asked me, said, "Hey, man, do any of these greens have breaks?" I said, "There's just a couple subtle breaks around the holes, depending on where they put it." But yeah, the greens are faster now than they were in the summer for obvious reasons. We're not going to get the rain that we had in summertime. He cuts them, actually. But these are 33-year-old greens, so just keep that in mind, all right? Shinnecock Hills over here.
Tony says you have to putt with a driver at Hale.
Yeah, well, oh, man. It was that way this summer. I won't deny that.
All right. Barone71 on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, QB, say the UAA retains Napier after this year. Do they need to extend him in order to publicly assure his job is safe for recruiting purposes?
No. Oh, my God. Anybody with a losing record that gets extended works in a system that's so flawed it's not even worth talking about. So listen, I think for Billy Napier, the key will be in the next 4 games, regardless of wins and losses, which will definitely be a huge key. But regardless of that, is the effort that I think this team puts out there. If they play hard like they have been, and they have been playing hard, and they show up and give effort, and they keep these games reasonable, I think that could actually be enough for him to be secure.
JC, are we giving out participation ribbons now?
Well, listen, that's what it's gotten to around here. You know, we're talking about 6 and 6 nowadays. Oh boy, 6 and 6. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, that's what it seems like what we talk about nowadays. The standards have come down clearly. When a guy can go to this school right here and in 1 year put these guys in the national championship picture after they didn't even go to a bowl game last year. Okay, don't tell me it's just, the system. There's something going on. And some guys can do it well, and other guys can do it so-so, and then some guys do it really badly. And so, to me, you take a team that wasn't even in a bowl game, and you run them to 8-0. Yeah, I think the guy's got something up his sleeve. He knows what he's doing. There's a difference. There is a difference. It shouldn't take 3 or 4 years to get your team off the mat, man. I don't care how bad it was. You can do it nowadays a lot faster, too. I think everybody knows it.
Text from Kevin on the Titan Network text line. Shane, you're right about what you said yesterday when you said we should sell out the swamp for concerts for NIL purposes. Why add seats when they don't use the stadium but 8 times a year? I don't know why we don't have a concert there every year. I mean, you're talking millions and millions of dollars that come in for that.
Well, Garth Brooks, when did he come here?
That was about 5 or 6 years ago. But I'm saying Morgan Wallen had 2 concerts, JC, with over 100. So they had about 270,000 people.
Yeah.
Think about the price they paid to get into that event.
No doubt.
Minimum per person was probably $400 minimum.
Wow. Well, that's what they love, and
well, that money proceeds from a percentage of that went to their NIL.
Yeah. Well, it was smart. That was smart. And, listen, Danny White and Heupel, they know they can raise ticket prices when they're playing well and winning games. And so that's what they've done, because they're all going to be billed about $20 to $22 million. Every athletic department in Division I will be here next year. So you got to pay for that somehow, QB. So that means either you cut somewhere or you raise revenue. That's what that means. And QB, listen, I heard you guys ranting about the stadium yesterday. In a way, that really has nothing to do. The financing for that stadium has nothing to do with NIL or anything else. That's probably going to be a bond issue. So it really doesn't take away from one pot to add to another. It's basically a revenue raise in the capital markets through a bank. That's how they're going to be able to pay for these stadium renovations. So that really won't come in lieu of losing money to be able to fund your NIL. I think that's not correct. So I don't.
Well, I don't think. When you only, I just don't think it's that important, quite honestly. I think there's bigger problems to deal with.
Well, there are many more bigger problems to deal with, no question about it. But the stadium is somewhat antiquated. And listen, if you don't have to sit in it, you don't care. But when you do have to sit in it or stand in it, then it doesn't portend to be in the most comfortable environment on earth. And that's where 80,000 people go. So
our good friends at the Jumping Offsides podcast.
Jumping off.
They said Oklahoma State's having the Cross Canadian Ragweed reunion, and it sold out 4 days straight, all for their NIL, and that is coming up in April. I don't know what that is, but
sell. Be creative. They've got plenty of opportunities over here, like you said, to try to raise revenues. They can do it if they are creative. Think out of the box. This is why I don't like the UAA. They are so stuck in their own ways, and they were forced to improve the facilities here at UF. They didn't want to. They were forced to. So they hate spending money over there. We all know this. And now they're kind of locked into a coach, and they've been locked into other coaches, and it's just been one shit show after another. But hopefully that will change. And, this guy's going to get these kids to play hard starting on Saturday against Georgia, and maybe he'll save his job and save the university.
Well, they've been playing hard, JC, ever since he's been here.
I know, but listen, dude. One loss,
I'm against the be competitive thing.
You don't believe that? You think that's BS? You don't think that. So let's say Billy goes 0-4 in these next.
So JC, let me just ask you this though: by being competitive,
what
does that mean moving forward?
Well, it really doesn't mean a whole lot. But here's what the thing is: you can pay this guy $26 million.
No. We're not worried about the money and who the coach. I'm saying by a team being just competitive.
Now I know
what does it mean?
Right. We're not trying to win moral victories around here. But
okay, that's my point. Just because, but what I'm trying to say is, and I tried to make this point the other day. I think it was with Buddy because he loves Lagway and he loves Jaden Ball. I think we all do. True freshman.
Sure.
Well, in the past, you could be very happy about your young kids on your roster because you knew they were here for at least 3 years. Because if they transferred, there was a penalty, so kids were not transferring.
Yes.
Okay. You could have great. Now, I'm not just talking about the Gators. It could be any team. You could have young players, or they could be playing hard, and you could say, we can look forward for next year. There is no guarantee that anybody on this roster will be here next year.
True. And
that's why I'm saying I don't care about that. You have to win games.
Well, QB, I agree. I mean, I'm not trying to dissuade us from winning games. I want Florida to win all of the next 4 games. But I was more referring to whether or not this coach is going to be around for another season. And to me, going 6-6, believe it or not, might be enough. But that's not going to make anybody happy. But it might be enough to save his job. If he doesn't go 6-6, if he has a sub 500 record, what would be the only thing to keep him here other than that contract? And to me, that would have been at least showing up. If they lose the next 4 games by a grand total of 10 points, that would be something that at least they can hang their hat on. Not that I'm satisfied with that. Not that that's going to make anybody happy, QB. But honest to God, how many times have they been close to Georgia in the last couple of years?
Not much.
No. So,
that's what I'm saying. The rosters aren't that close. Mark asked on Facebook Live, Shane, do you think the fact that DJ's the only quarterback and not being rotated out with Mertz will help him be more consistent? I mean, he just gets into the flow of the game.
So what do you think is going to happen in the next 4 games? Just bluntly say what's going to happen. I mean, I know you don't want to say, oh, well, we're not going to beat this team, we're not going to beat that team, but let's just be honest with people right now. Does Florida win more, less, or break 500 in the next 4 games? Most people are saying 2-2. I'm saying, how is that happening?
I don't know how that's going to happen either.
Okay. Well, then that means we're going to have a losing record this year. So.
Right. And again, I'm taking nothing away from how we've gotten better.
Yeah.
But it's who we've gotten better against.
True, but that's the schedule,
now,
dude.
No, I understand that, JC. But what I'm saying, though, is you can sit here. I mean, did we beat the teams we're supposed to beat? I guess that's how you can put it. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're not supposed to beat the next 4 teams, if you want to look at it that way. I think the next 4 teams that we play are better than we are.
Okay.
I mean, would you agree or disagree with that?
No, I absolutely would agree with that right now. But I'm just thinking of ways that, this coach saves his job, and 6-6 might be enough.
Well, I think the way you win it is by winning football games.
Well, agreed. But what's the reality here? What is the reality? I don't know. I don't think it's reality that they win the next 4 games. I don't think it is. But maybe
Brian says they will win one of the next 4 games.
One. Okay.
He thinks either Ole Miss or LSU. I mean, the 2 at home. But I think those two teams are very good, quite honestly.
They are. They are quite good. And everybody wants to say, well, Mississippi's beatable and all this. You know what? The problem with that is you got to play them in a month. You're still going to play 3 teams before then. And what are you going to have left in the tank if you get rolled in the next 3 games? I don't know. Mississippi has shown that they can win on the road. They can win at home. So Mississippi is not an easy team by any stretch of the imaginations. And thank you, everybody, for the wonderful birthday wishes yesterday. I appreciate that. It's very nice. I was surprised last night at a restaurant. I couldn't believe it. I almost fainted. So,
did y'all tear it up last night, JC?
Well, we didn't tear it up, but it was a more than a typical Tuesday, if you will, because Tuesday is not one of my big celebration nights. But I was appreciative for all the good wishes and the folks that showed up the other night. And, she put together a spur of the moment thing, and it just kind of came together, and it was very nice. But I don't typically like to bring too much attention to myself when it comes to birthday time. Other people do that because they have Facebook, they have this, that reminds them, oh, it's this guy's birthday. Oh, it's that girl's birthday. Mm-hmm. So that's very sweet that they do that and that they think enough to you to send you a good wish. And I try to do the same thing for other folks, but it's funny. Some people I know I know exactly what their birthday is because of that. I know exactly what your birthday is, June 1st. I know exactly what some of these other friends of ours' birthdays are, and I think it's nice to just remember people on their birthday. So some people just don't even want to talk about it. It's like, oh my God, you know what the alternative to not turning 60 is, QB?
What?
Not turning 60, and that's worse.
Are you 60, JC? Holy shit, I didn't know you were 60.
Yeah, right. And yet I still go out there and compete with you guys when I feel like it.
No, well, that's not true.
When I feel like it.
Yeah, it's been twice in 10 years.
That's not true.
So Daryl says on the Titan More text line, JC, what's on the tailgate menu Saturday as far as drinks and food? Maybe a traditional Bloody Mary for Florida, Georgia. My cousin in Tennessee's son paid $500 a ticket for Morgan Wallen.
Whoa. God, well,
that he must, and for $500, he was at the top row of Neyland Stadium.
Oh,
I promise you.
Good heavens.
I bet they made $15 million easily off that concert.
At least, I would think at least that, QB.
Everybody always asks me where I play. I don't really travel to play golf. I don't have time to do that, and I like to play with competitive golf.
Yeah,
with the competitive players in my group.
You like your group now. Before you,
well, I can if an outsider wants to come in and compete, we're all for that. But I can't just roll up to some golf course and tee it up and have fun. I have to be playing real golf. By the rules for something.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Somebody asked me, says, why do you always have to have something bet on this? I said, let me ask you a question. Do you like to go to the Gainesville Health and Fitness Center and watch people work out? Is that what you like to do? You just want to watch them? I mean, you got to have something matter, right? Justin Thomas always said, I don't play golf just for the leisure activity of it. I play golf to compete. And that's
all about competition.
What else can we compete at the age of 54 and 60? What else can we compete at? It's golf, right? Golf and bowling. I don't like bowling, but I can do golf.
Well, I like to bowl too, though. Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. We got JC right now. We're going to have Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel join us second portion of
the
show.
Coach Spurrier says that we're not that far behind Georgia with roster talent and all this. What was that all about, QB?
Coach gets paid, okay, by the university.
He's got to have
coaches. I mean, we're all optimistic. Look, our roster is better than it was last year against them. It is,
without
okay, but here. They are a better football team.
Yeah. Well, watch this kid, Jalen Walker, folks, number 11. I've been talking about him for 2 weeks because of the way he terrorized Texas. Watch him. Be careful.
Well, they're a team that, whether people like it when I say this or not, they can flip a switch when they want to play.
Well, hopefully they will lose the switch in the darkness on Saturday. Okay, they'll be looking around in that room. Yeah. Where the hell is the switch?
The problem is their head coach got his ass beat down in this game every year, and so he acts like our old head coach does.
It's the same thing with Spurrier. It's exactly what you said the other day. I mean, Spurrier did not have a great playing career against these guys. Mm-hmm. Saw all of the heartache after, but when he came to coach, I think he won 10 out of 11 times. I think, is that right?
He was 10 out of 11.
Yeah, I went to the one game they lost.
This guy said this, Jason. I want to read this, and you tell me if this is true or false.
Let's try it.
He says Shane wants Florida to look bad while losing, so he and the other media talking heads can go back to calling for Billy to be gone. No. As long as Florida's a winning team, they can't call for Billy to be replaced.
Have
I ever said that?
I don't believe that's true whatsoever. I think
this guy, he always sends silly stuff. I like to comment on it sometimes, but he obviously does not listen to the program or hears what he wants to hear.
Correct. The truth is that we all want them to win on Saturday, QB. That's the truth.
Yeah. And I've been very supportive of Billy since he's been here. But at some point.
Yeah. I mean, whether he or Donald Duck is coaching out there on the sideline, we still want him to win the damn game. That's what makes you happy. That's what gets you excited about the next game. That's what gets you thinking about it during the week, anticipatory. Getting excited, that's it, right? That's the truth. So we're rooting for them, but damn it, we have to call out what we see. We can't just pretend like we're not like we're seeing something that's not true, and we do that. And I've seen enough. I want, but I hope they win. Okay, if that makes any sense at all, I don't know if it does, but that's. How many strokes did Shane give you, JC? The last time I played with Shane, he didn't give me a damn stroke. I think when we were in Utah, you didn't give me any strokes.
Well, okay, let's go back to that. You did beat me in Utah because I had not played golf. My handicap right now is a 3.4.
Okay, well, I'm not a 3.4. So that means you got to give me 7 because I'm a 10.
That's fine. Anytime you want to come roll out there.
How come that didn't happen the last time we played?
Because I had not been playing golf.
You played golf 4 times a week the last time.
Not leading up to that trip. No, I did not. I hadn't played in like months.
No, I'm talking about when I come out there with you and Gary and Connie and all those guys, you didn't give me no damn stroke.
Yeah, the computer tells you where the strokes fall, Jason. There's no argument. The computer does not lie. Okay? Unless somebody's hacked into our computer. The computer does not lie.
It does not lie. It does not lie. It does not lie.
The computer does not lie. All right, JC, we got any Peachland Dental picks for tonight or tomorrow?
You know, and I'm really kind of teed off that I didn't get to pick yesterday because I was all over Louisiana and I was all over the Sam Houston under on the Hard Rock, the only legal betting site in the state of Florida, the great state, free state of Florida, the Hard Rock. And I had the under on Sam Houston State against Louisiana Tech, beautiful. And I had the Louisiana Raging Cajuns who outright won against the Texas State Bobcats. So tonight we get these games in the middle of the week, and you know what? All winning tickets cash the same, QB. So Jacksonville State is playing Liberty. Liberty is kind of slumping. Liberty's lost some games that I can't believe. And Rich Rod has something cooking at Jacksonville State, so I'm going to take them getting 2 points at Liberty. What do you think?
They're better than Liberty. Liberty's not very good this year. They lost to Kennesaw State in their first year.
27-point favorites. That's the most unbelievable upset of the year that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kennesaw State, they are traveling to Western Kentucky, and they are catching 24. They may have done something against Liberty, but I have a feeling this game's not going to go their way. I'm going to lay the 24 Western Kentucky.
Who's Western playing?
Kennesaw. That team couldn't snap the ball 2 weeks before the Liberty game, and then somehow they beat Liberty. It was the biggest upset.
Well, just to be different, I'll take Kennesaw. They stink, but I'll take them.
Might as well. And then Thursday, it's Tulane against Charlotte. Man, let me tell you, the Green Wave have got it together right now. They're 6-2. I think they blow out Charlotte. They're laying 16.5. And then we'll talk about what's happening on Friday, November the 1st. There are 3 games, not what I would call marquee matchups. And then, of course, we'll talk about Saturday's schedule. They just really screw Ole Miss, man. They've got to give LSU those damn night games. They should be allowing Ole Miss and Arkansas to play at night. They should also be allowing
Ole Miss wouldn't want to play at night because it's not at their ballpark.
I get it, but the Ole Miss and Georgia next week should have been a night game, and instead they put Alabama and LSU on at night. And as Lane Kiffin says, and he's 1,000% right, it is a huge advantage to play in a 100,000-seat stadium with a crazy fan base at night at home. It is. I don't care what anyone says. It's absolutely an advantage. And Ole Miss should have gotten that opportunity against the Georgia Bulldogs because they haven't had any. But for some reason, the whole world accepts the fact that LSU must play at night. Why don't we stick those LSU Tigers on at noon and see how that goes with the fan base when Alabama comes to town? That just isn't going to happen, but that would be fair because it's like, what the hell? We got Ole Miss going to hosting Georgia. How many times has that happened in our life? How about never? And why don't we put that game on at nighttime? No, we can't do that. We got to put them on at noon or 3:30. This crazy-ass noon. I hate this noon crap. I know it's the new thing. Everybody's trending about it. Fox thinks it's the smartest thing ever. I think it sucks. And, here we have Ohio State and Penn State this weekend playing at noon, QB. Playing at noon. It's the biggest game of the weekend, but we've got to put it on at noon while people are basically waking up. All of the restaurants go broke. Nothing happens. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. I'll never change my mind about that.
Okay, having said all that, what is the NFL game tomorrow night?
I knew that was going to be your next question. I forgot to tell you that game is going to be we get the New York Jets again. Thank God we get to watch Aaron Rodgers screw up again. Thank God we get to see the New York Jets at 2-6. At 2-6 after getting beat by the Patriots. Thank God we get to watch them again on prime time. It's on. Yeah. Thursday Night Football on Amazon. It's on. And we get to watch the Jets and the Texans. I
don't get to watch it. The Texans? Who?
The Texans, the Houston Texans.
What's the spreads for our Peachland Dental picks?
2. Jets are laying 2.
That makes no sense.
It's NFL QB, you know that.
I understand that, but that's like
Nico
that BYU
Collins.
bet.
Until Houston gets Nico Collins back in the lineup, they're not the same.
I don't care. I like their quarterback. I'm a CJ Stroud guy.
You also love Aaron Rodgers.
I know, but Aaron, he needs to go ahead and retire and move out to Montana or wherever.
It's go in the dark room and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Georgia Bulldogs will be in the dark room on Saturday.
Right. Real quick, JC, I want you to respond to this. Justin on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, what would we think of Florida's roster versus Georgia's roster if Kirby was our coach? Well, I think we'd be talking about the roster a little different. I don't know if that's true or not. I would just go by how many people have been in the National Football League in the last 3 years.
That's a good point. And listen, I don't think Kirby would have this roster. I think he would have a better roster. And that's why he has.
Well, Kirby has a really good roster because he took over a program that was winning. We failed to mention that he took over a Mark Richt team that I think had won like 9 games or something like that.
It is true. That is true.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you're right. I know. I just want it to become a good game. I want Florida to win, but I want to be realistic about it. I just don't want people leaving.
Well, I think the first quarter is crucial for us.
Yeah. You
got to survive it.
Yeah. See where Anthony Richardson got benched? He's on the bench. He got benched.
Not surprised.
Joe Flacco, your 39-year-old Super Bowl winning quarterback.
The Colts are a good team, man.
They are. They're sticky on defense, and if Flacco gets in there and can get them in the end zone,
the games they won this year, he's been their starter.
That's right.
Yeah. So
what a genius!
Not good. Yeah. Not good. So all right. One last thing, JC. Mark says, how long does it take a good coach to turn a program around? I say 3 years. Napier's had his 3 years and very little improvement.
Well, Kirk Cignetti's taken him less than 1 year. Sonny Dykes took TCU to the national championship in 1 year. Mike Elko turned A&M into a juggernaut in 1 year. It can happen in 1 year nowadays with the transfer portal and the NIL. So it does not have to take 3 years. In the old days, yeah, maybe, but the transfer rules are so different today, and so that's where you can sell. You have to be a salesman, though, and we don't know if some of these guys over here are, and they should be, but that's the job now. I really believe that, and I've always said that, and I think Florida should be improved. So we'll see how these next 4 go, and that'll show you where the program is. These next 4 games, this is it. You're going to see the 4 best quarterbacks in the league,
4 best offenses
in consecutive weeks, man. And that is going to tell you right there exactly where you stand. And that's probably a good thing, QB, because then you'll know more. Yeah.
This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit Union. 2019 World Series. The Washington Nationals beat the Astros in Game 7 at Minute Maid Park to win their first title in franchise history. Do you know who the MVP was for that series, JC?
Juan Soto? No, Steven Strasburg. Yeah, he's disappeared, but he did get that, and he was great, but his arm burned out.
Juan Soto on that team?
Played on that team, yeah. He won the World Series with the Nats. Here's another question for you, QB. Who are the Washington Nationals, and where did they come from?
The Washington Nationals probably were the Expos at some point.
Yes, very good. You got it.
They were probably the Senators first.
Well, the Expos, whoever created the Expos, I don't know who that was. The Senators were a team in Washington, but the Expos were created out of something, and then they went upside down and moved to Washington. That's exactly right. Good job. And by the way, the Baltimore Ravens who won the Super Bowl, you know who they really were before they were the Baltimore Ravens?
The Colts.
The Cleveland Browns.
Wait, I was reading something else. What did you say? I just heard Baltimore, so I said
when
Colts.
Art Modell moved the Browns to Baltimore, and they won the Super Bowl a couple times. That was the Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland Browns, yeah.
The Cleveland Browns were then created by the league through some sort of expansion draft or whatever to become what they are today. And the Colts moved from, that's Bob Irsay, moved from Baltimore to Indianapolis. There you have it.
I actually played a preseason game in the or maybe it was a regular season game in the old Cleveland Stadium.
Yeah, Municipal. The mistake by the lake.
Dude, let me tell you something.
Stadium on earth.
That was the worst locker room I've ever been in my life.
Was it worse than Oakland's?
It was worse than Citizens Field. I kid you not.
That's
It was
like
unbelievable.
That would be considered a health risk right now.
Oakland's was bad, but it wasn't bad because it was big, because it was a baseball locker room.
I got you.
So Wolf Gator says,
right.
before we get you out of here on YouTube,
Yeah.
brought to you by Quality Plum, UAA and big money guys don't want to pay that bow. So that's why
they
will
don't.
Bring Napier back if he can get
Yep.
to 66.
Wolf Gator's probably right.
I don't think the big money people care.
You know?
Mm-mm.
Well, it is the only people that truly know what's going on up there is Scott Strickland and I guess that ridiculous president. But I as far as I'm concerned, we're going to learn a lot more in 4 weeks. It's just not even worth thinking about right now. So
nope. All right, JC, have a good day. Go celebrate. Go putt on your shaggy greens. That's JC. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Town. Quick timeout. We'll be joined by Orlando Sentinel's Edgar Thompson. You're watching and listening to PodUp Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, Peachland Dental, QC Kinetics, Campus USA Credit Union, Dave & Buster's. Gridiron sponsors, Comfort Temp, UF Bookstores, Quality Plumbing, Silverback Concrete, Rules Ogra State Farm, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, F45, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gator Bait Media, Aikido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, MG&A Wealth, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Nest and Wild, Florida Victorious, Electronics World. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapa Latin Cafe with 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua. You're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. Back to the Titan MRI Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. It's our man, Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Good morning, Edgar. How are you?
Is it Miapa or Miapa?
Hell, I call it Miapa. That's my Mississippi.
G. Allen,
Cuban
G. Allen
food.
Taylor. Remember G. Allen?
Yeah.
Yeah, he always was Miapa. But
Miapa?
so
That's too hard to say.
Best Cuban coffee. I get it all the time. They will give you a healthy dose of caffeine over there.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right, Edgar. Big week. Florida, Georgia over in Jacksonville. Coming off the bye week. Y'all will talk to Billy this afternoon at his presser. Had a bunch of people text me the last few days and a bunch this morning wanted me to ask you, is Trey Wilson hurt?
We find out at 8:10 tonight.
Okay, but I have no information, but he played in the last game, correct?
Well, Bianchi, I was just on his show this morning. He asked the same thing. I thought he was getting back to full speed. I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like in the Kentucky game, we played majority of the snaps with DK Badger and Trey Wilson. So,
which is a nice lineup. In fact, today I do these like burning questions this analysis thing every Wednesday. It runs typically. And one of them was like, is he going to close strongly? Because he's not done anything this year, honestly. He's been overshadowed and injured. But the good news is you got DK and you got Badger, who have really emerged. Only duo in the country, you might have seen this, averaging 20 plus. Badger 23.8 on 22 catches, DK 20 on 21. and 20 catch. That's pretty explosive. And when you got DJ Lagway, 10 40-yard completions in 2 starts. They had 5 as a team last year, and Graham Mertz has 0 this year. So it's opened up the offense with those 2 guys and DJ throwing the football.
Yeah. Somebody just said that a couple other people chimed in today about this. Dan Lanning is in the ear of Trey Wilson. Have you heard that? Somebody else just said Trey's headed to Oregon.
Wouldn't surprise me if he's in the ear. We were talking about this, this settlement that's coming up, 22 million, whatever, that schools are going to start having to pay athletes starting in 2025, presumably. Now, April 7th is going to be when it all is official, but they're certainly making moves behind the scenes preparing for this and bracing for it, really, because it's going to be a big price tag for schools to handle. Well, that doesn't preclude NIL. That collectives aren't going away.
No.
It's just the money is just going to get immense. And Oregon can throw whatever it wants if it wants Trey Wilson. If DJ Lagway, if Billy Napier doesn't survive the month of November, I'm sure you've talked about this endlessly, and I can see you're enjoying this because by your expression. But have you been talking about this on here?
Yeah. So I think where you're going with this.
Well, I'm going with if you fired Billy Napier, a lot of people are going to be in DJ Lagway's ear if they already aren't.
Well, what I've tried to tell people on this show is whether it's DJ Lagway, whether it's Edgar Thompson, whether it's Danny Werfel, whoever, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if it's the Florida Gators, an Alabama team, an Ole Miss team. There's no guarantee anybody on any team in America will be on that team next year, regardless of the coach, regardless of what, right? It's people are going to be calling their agents, their moms, dads, their high school coaches, their brothers, their aunts.
I don't know if I'm that cynical. You think any player is just for
I definitely think that. I think that happens all around the country.
But no, I'm not saying it doesn't. We're seeing it. But you think every player in the United States of America, regardless of who's on the team or who's coaching the team's for sale, every player. That's what you believe that.
I do believe that.
That's not true. But anyway.
Why wouldn't it be? So Edgar, my question to you is,
why wouldn't it be? I mean, some people actually want a certain environment, a certain situation. They have teammates, they have a coaching staff they want to play for. Not everybody's for sale, Shane.
Well, I just think that's how college football is today, because I feel like if school X is paying whatever left tackle $200,000 and he has a great relationship with his O-line coach and his head coach, and a school in the Midwest offers him $500,000, he is gone, regardless if he likes that coach or not, in my opinion. Because I don't think there's any loyalty in college sports today, unless you grow up like a Jack Pyburn, okay? I heard some clips from his presser, and I talked about this on my show and some other shows. Because people wanted to ask about the Florida-Georgia rivalry. I said, the players on the teams don't get it. I didn't even get it, Edgar, when I played, because I came from the Egg Bowl rivalry. I came from Mississippi. DJ doesn't understand what it's about until you actually play in the game. But Jack Pyburn grew up a Gator fan, going to this game his whole life. So he understands what it's about. But I firmly believe it's all about the dollars in today's world.
It's unfortunate. It's corrupt. It's been corrupting professional sports for decades, and it's filtered down to this level. And I'm not being completely naive and gullible here. I mean, which is Mark Long always accuses me of being naive, which I can be. I'm idealistic for sure, and I'm not applying this to DJ Lagway either. I'm just saying it's a pretty broad sweeping statement, not to parse your words, that every player in the United States of America is for sale.
Well, I think they're all trying to make the money while they can, because you got to remember there's only 1% probably, or whatever the small percentage.
No, and they should.
That any of them are going to make it to actually make money playing football outside of college.
Well, they're going to raise whatever they have to here to keep that young man if push comes to shove. But look, he's what's going to save Billy Napier or not this month.
Right. And like I said, this I'm not referring that DJ's leaving. Don't people do not go tweet that or any of that. I don't care if
My
it's
Twitter
quarterback
account's
X.
been shut down for 3 months. So
Yeah. I mean, look at Dylan Gabriel. He's a tremendous college quarterback, but he is going and taking money at these other schools, which is fine. That's the way the system is set up in today's world. So, all right, Edgar, looking at this
definitely
game.
set up that way. I'm just saying, I look, you know what I'm saying. They got to keep this guy. There are people that, and I don't know where you sit on this. I think we talked on the phone briefly when we were talking about doing this. I'm not sure exactly where you sit, but there's somebody who's been watching Florida football for a long time, and another media guy, I'm not going to name him, but he says best player he's seen the Gators since Percy Harvin. Now, I'm not going there yet, but this young man has got an it factor. He's got a fearlessness to him. He's got a playmaking gift. And now I know your theory is these deep passes, they're going to start. He's not going to hit them all.
No, he won't.
So far, he's hitting a lot of them.
Yeah, which is yeah. But he's a phenomenal player, and he's going to get better. This whole conversation, I want people to realize I was not talking about DJ. I was just talking about college athletes.
I don't think anybody's going to call you out on it.
Oh, they will, Edgar, because there's some morons that listen. They just want to hear or
call your listeners
say what they want to say and not what they hear from me. But anyway, to the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've had multiple people talk all week, and especially today. We need to see how we stack up against Georgia. We need to be competitive, all that kind of stuff. I'm no longer in that room, Edgar. We got to win games. I guess the big question is, people keep asking, what does Billy have to do to keep his job? Is it be competitive, Edgar, in your opinion, or win the game?
Well, I don't know about win this game, but he's got to win some games. I don't think he can go 5-7 with an FSU win to end it, because by then he might not even be the coach if they lose 4 straight. So he's got to win some of these games coming up. I think he knows that. I think the administration feels that. I haven't had anyone tell me specifically he has to win X number of games. Bianchi and I have been arguing about this, and Mark and I debating it too on our podcast. Is 1 out of 4 winning 1 out of 4 of the next games, right? So you win one of your final 4 SEC games and beat a bad FSU team enough to keep Billy Napier. It sure doesn't seem like a very high standard. If they look very competitive and DJ plays very well in most of those games, most of the instances, and you see signs of hope, maybe you do give them 1 more year to let the thing play out at 6-6. But they got to get to at least 6-6. I personally feel like he should probably, if you're really sticking to a real standard, 2 out of the next 4, you split your SEC games to close, you beat FSU. That's pretty good. You keep him then, right? Wouldn't you? I mean, if he wins 3 of 5 in this November schedule, I would. But yeah, I don't know that it's going to start this week against Georgia. Though I was joking, I'm not pulling a Ben Crenshaw 1999 Ryder Cup at Brookline, but I got a feeling this week the Gators are going to be very competitive this week, I believe. If maybe I'm wrong, maybe they get their doors blown off. I know some people, I talked to a friend of mine last night, 34-14. I'm like, really? And I'm like, do you think they're going to get killed like that? They're getting back to full strength. And Michael Williams back, number 13. The guy is an absolute beast. Top 5 pick in the NFL draft, potentially 6'5", 265, and quick off the edge. Now they have 2 edge guys. But you know what Georgia doesn't have? It doesn't have the depth up front it used to have, because NIL and transfer portal, as to your point, has cut the depth of all the top programs because you can't keep everyone now. Okay, that's one thing. They also are without 2 starting secondary members for the first half of this game. Their star and their strong safety are not playing the first half because of targeting calls. So maybe the Gators, Shane, the halftime score of the last 3 games were 26-7 last year, 28-3 the year before, and 24-0. You were done by halftime. If they can stay around in the first half or even build a little bit of an advantage against.
I think we scored on the first drive last week. Didn't we take a 7-0 lead last year?
Yeah, 7-0, but they were down 26-7 at half.
Yeah.
And part of that was Billy doing that reverse and all that. We yelled at each other about that call because it was a terrible call, in my opinion. 1st and 10 from the 50, you run Trey Wilson in reverse, lose yards on it, lost momentum. But anyhow, so Carson Beck has 5 interceptions in the last 2 games. I said to Billy the other day about his up and down. He goes, well, that's a narrative. No, it's not a narrative. It's a fact. He's been struggling lately. Okay. Trevor Etienne hasn't rushed for 100 yards yet. I thought Trevor Etienne would maybe be Herschel Walker, but I thought he might be Sonny Michel or someone. He hasn't been like as good as I thought because our offensive line's not as good. This isn't the formidable Georgia teams of recent years. It's good. It's a very good team. Might be the best team. It isn't the 2021 team, I'll tell you that, or 22. So Florida has a shot. Now, and then they go out and get whipped and everyone's going to say I'm an idiot, but I think Florida does have a shot. And I think DJ Lagway gives you a chance because you have to have chunk plays to beat a defense like this, right? You can't just rely on 8 and 10 play, 12 play drives like Billy's. No. You got to have chunk plays, and they are getting chunk plays with this kid, and it gives them a chance.
Yeah, like I said, we'll find out a lot about the chunk plays against this defense. If we don't take 4 or 5 shots early in the first half with their safeties out, we got a problem. Kevin asked a question here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. Shane, if you had Wilson in your team, what would you use him? How would you use him as an athlete? I would have him run a lot of intermediate option routes, curl routes, shallow crosses, corners. I'd get the ball in his hand. I think he's a really good player. Edgar, we got a text on the Titan Tomorrow text line. Back to our discussion. This is from Jimmy regarding, players taking money to leave elsewhere. He says, Edgar, do you think the University of Florida, regardless of how the rest of the season goes, will keep Billy Napier just to keep DJ Lagway? I don't agree if that's the case because you can't just keep a player thinking he's going to save the program.
Mark had an interesting line yesterday when we were talking. Are you better off? You tell me, Shane, you would know because you played for arguably the greatest coach in school history and one of the greatest of all time, really. If Coach Spurrier could have gotten a second national title, he'd be talked about in the top 10 coaches probably ever. One national title, it's hard to put a person in that class. But great coach, mediocre quarterback, or great quarterback, mediocre coach? Which would you rather have?
I would rather have the great coach because I think the great coach is going to have better than mediocre players.
I mean, and I kind of agree with you, but I guess the point is, Billy, I'm not going to say he's mediocre, but he certainly hasn't stood out thus far. He had a track record when he got here. He was probably a good hire. It hasn't panned out like people thought so far, and it might, fail. It's heading that way. But DJ Lagway could be a great quarterback. You keep Billy if he's, they start showing signs and you give this thing one more year to marinate and play out. And here's the thing, you damn well better know that you're getting somebody very good. I think I watch your show enough, and I'm sure we're treading on common themes here that you've already talked about, but you damn well better know you're getting who you want. Because you get rid of Billy and then you're kind of like, oh yeah, you whiff on a guy or whatever. I don't know what your thought is on that, but you better have it back channeled and lined up pretty tightly.
Yeah, well, if they were to make a change in coaches, I think this is like do or die. I firmly believe that it's getting late in my lifetime that we have to have the right guy if we want to win again. And maybe that's just me in the minority, but you just don't just fire a guy just to not have a plan or somebody in place that you think can take you to the next level. This text here says we have to see how the coaching cycle is. Personally, I think it's a poor cycle this year. I don't really know who's going to be out there. I mean, I don't think there's a list of coaches saying, "Hey, we want to be hired." All of them have jobs. You're going to hire somebody from another school. So,
well, I do think that's where money talks.
yeah. But
Maybe
people talk about Dan Lanning is 36 or 38 years old. He is not leaving Oregon.
Why would you leave? It's the best situation to lure players you could want, and now you're in the Big Ten.
Army Sniper says elite QB play can win championships even with mediocre coaches. Yes and no, but the question Edgar proposed, I would rather have the great coach, because the great coach is going to take a mediocre player and his coaching is going to make them damn good, if that makes any sense.
Were you a great player or mediocre?
No.
The great coach.
I honestly, out of Spurrier's quarterbacks, okay, one of them won a Heisman. Two of them probably should have won a Heisman. But the best one didn't win the Heisman. That's Rex. Rex was clearly the most talented that Spurrier had. Not even close. Danny was a phenomenal college quarterback, but if you want to compare just play and athleticism and arm strength and all that nonsense, it was Rex. But all of us were the same kind of guy.
Well, what we saw, and I saw it. I arrived in 2002. Rex was coming off the runner-up for the Heisman, which was considered he got job because Eric Krause won it. You remember, right?
Yeah.
So I get here, and I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to see this Rex Grossman guy. I'm coming from New Mexico, which didn't have very good football. It was okay, right, under Rocky Long. And Rex struggled, man. He had 4 interceptions at Ole Miss. They lost 17-14 in an early game. You probably remember that game. And then the next week, maybe against LSU, he had 4 more. So he was playing for a pretty mediocre coach, and he was a great quarterback. So maybe that answered my question.
Yeah. And out of coaches, his highest rated quarterbacks didn't pan out here. Bobby Sablehouse, #1 quarterback in America, and Brock Berlin. So anyway, Edgar, good stuff. How can people follow you? I don't know if you're back on Twitter.
How can they not on Twitter.
You got any good stuff you're writing about?
I'm trying to dig in on some stories. I mean, Jaden Baugh, I'm trying to do a bigger piece on him. I was hooking up with his high school coach, but we kind of lost something on him coming up soon. And we got basketball starting up on Monday. So we're kind of starting to write some hoops. We talked to Todd last week. I wrote a big story on Olivier Rio and the 7'9" kid in June, but probably will write something on him before next week's game. Todd's like 90% of the questions I get are about him. Guy's not even going to play at all, but he's just such a curiosity.
Yeah.
And, fans are going to be screaming and yelling for him because a lot of the games at home, at least in basketball, are going to be pretty one-sided, I think. So that's going to be a fun team to cover. And I think I might be talking to Jack Pyburn's dad at one point today. I'll tell you, that young man is a great talker. But I don't know what you think about his style of play, but man, he makes plays. He might not have the skills, but
he's exactly what I say. Not one. You interview any offensive lineman in the world.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care how big, strong you are. They hate the guy who plays hard every play. They hate that guy, and that's Jack Pyburn. He plays so damn hard, and he's not the most talented guy, but he's going to give you great effort, and that's all you can ask for. But offensive linemen hate guys like him.
I'd hate him too. I mean, I joked with him when he walked up. I said, I don't know if you heard this. I was like, so how big's your neck? And he was like, what? But I mean, he has got like the Mike Singletary, Zach Thomas neck going, man. It starts at like the top of his head. But he's a beast. He's a fun kid. So yeah, anyway, always trying to get into the stories of these young men, and typically pretty much every one of them has one. That's good.
Yeah. Appreciate your time, Edgar. We'll see you in the press box, my friend. That's Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Join us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Electronics World, integration and design specialist for smart home automation and entertainment, affordable local installation, service, and support at electronicsworld.net. Appreciate everybody chiming in. Hope you enjoyed the program. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.